My wife's top client was her affair partner, and she was using our business money to fund secret getaways with him. I never thought I'd be the kind of man who'd check his wife's phone. After 12 years of marriage, you're supposed to trust each other completely, right? You're supposed to take your partner at their word, believe their explanations, accept their reasons for working late or traveling for business. I did all of that. I trusted Natalie completely. And that trust allowed her to fund an entire secret life with another man using our business money while I worked 70-hour weeks to support our family. Hey, Reddit, this is the story of how I discovered my wife wasn't just having an affair, she was systematically defrauding our business to finance luxury getaways with her lover, and how that discovery revealed she'd been planning to leave me once she'd extracted enough money to start a new life with him. I'm Marcus, 37 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will make you question whether the person sleeping next to you is the same person they pretend to be during the day. You know that moment when you realize the life you thought you were building with someone was actually just a convenient cover story for the life they were secretly planning without you? When you discover that every business trip and client meeting was actually time stolen from your marriage to invest in someone else. That's where this story goes. But let me start from the beginning, because to understand how completely Natalie fooled me, you need to understand what our life looked like and how perfectly our businesses intertwined, making her betrayal not just personal, but professional and financial as well. I met Natalie 13 years ago when I was 24 and she was 22. I'd just graduated with my master's in architecture and was working as an associate at a mid-sized firm in Austin, Texas, making about $52,000 a year. Natalie had just gotten her real estate license and was working for a boutique agency, hungry and ambitious, determined to make her mark in Austin's competitive real estate market. We met at an open house I'd been hired to consult on. The owner wanted architectural advice on potential renovations to increase property value. Natalie was the listing agent. She was confident, charming, knew how to read people and understand what they wanted. When she talked about real estate, her eyes lit up with genuine passion. She wasn't just selling houses, she was selling dreams, lifestyles, future. You're good at this, I told her, after watching her handle 3 different potential buyers, each with completely different needs and budgets. So are you, she said, looking at the renovation sketches I'd drawn. You see potential where others see problems, that's a gift. We started dating within a month. Our careers complemented each other perfectly. I designed spaces, she sold them. I understood structure and form, she understood market. Mature psychology and buyer motivation. We'd spend evenings discussing projects, properties, market trends. It felt like we were building something together from day one. After 3 years of dating, I proposed. We got married in a beautiful ceremony overlooking Lake Travis, surrounded by friends, family, and colleagues from both our industries. Our wedding gift to each other was a commitment to building not just a marriage, but a business partnership. We'd collaborate on projects. I'd design custom homes or renovation plans. She'd handle the sales and client relationships. By the time I was 28 and Natalie was 26, we'd established ourselves as a power couple in Austin's luxury real estate market. I'd left the firm to start my own architectural practice, specializing in high-end residential design. Natalie had become one of the top agents at her firm, focusing on luxury properties. We were both making 6 figures. Life was good. When I was 31 and Natalie was 29, we had our son Owen. Beautiful, perfect, everything we'd hoped for. Natalie took 6 months of maternity leave, then returned to work with a vengeance. She'd always been driven, but after Owen, she became almost obsessive about success. Like she needed to prove she could be an excellent mother and a top-performing agent simultaneously. I was supportive. I adjusted my schedule to handle more parenting duties, often working from home so I could pick up Owen from daycare or handle evening routines. Natalie worked longer hours, attended more networking events, pursued bigger clients. Our income grew. I was making $145,000. She was making $180,000, $200,000, depending on her commissions. We opened a joint business account to manage our collaborative projects. When I designed a property and she sold it, the profits went into this shared account. We'd each draw from it for business expenses, then split the profits quarterly. It was built on trust, complete, absolute trust that we were both acting in the business's best interest. That trust I'd learn years later was Natalie's greatest weapon against me. About 18 months ago, when Owen was 5, Natalie came home from work absolutely buzzing with excitement. I just landed the biggest client of my career. His name is Victor Reeves. He's a developer from Dallas, relocating to Austin, wants to invest heavily in luxury properties here. Marcus, he's talking about buying multiple properties, not just one house, but an entire portfolio. This could be defining for me. That's amazing. Tell me more about him. He's 42, made his fortune in tech startups. Now he's diversifying into real estate. Super sophisticated, knows exactly what he wants. We spent 3 hours today just discussing his vision for building wealth through Austin's real estate market. He wants me to be his exclusive agent for all his acquisitions here. Exclusive, that's huge. Congratulations, babe. She kissed me, radiant with excitement. This is going to change everything for us. The commissions alone could be $200,000, $300,000 over the next year if he buys what he's talking about. I was genuinely happy for her. Natalie had worked hard to build her reputation. She deserved a client like this. Over the following weeks, Victor became a constant presence in our lives. Not physically, but in conversation. Natalie talked about him constantly. Victor thinks the market in West Lake Hills is undervalued right now. Victor wants to see properties in Tarrytown this weekend. Victor is so strategic about his investments. I'm learning so much from him. It was always Victor this, Victor that. I teased her about it once. Should I be jealous of how much you talk about this guy? She laughed. Don't be ridiculous. He's a client, a very important, very wealthy client, but just a client. You know my heart belongs to you and Owen. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? 3 months into their business relationship, Natalie sold Victor his first property, a $1.2 million contemporary home in West Austin. Her commission, $36,000. She was ecstatic. This is just the beginning, she said, showing me the commission check. That Victor's already looking at 2 more properties, and he wants to discuss having you design some custom renovations for his investment properties. This could be huge for both our businesses. The collaboration angle excited me. I'd been wanting to expand into high-end renovation design. If Victor was buying multiple properties and needed architectural services, that was a perfect synergy of our businesses. I finally met Victor at a charity gala Natalie had invited me to. Victor will be there. You should meet him. Start building that relationship for future design work. Victor Reeves was exactly what I'd expected. Tall, fit, immaculately dressed, confident, bordering on arrogant. He had the kind of charisma that successful entrepreneurs often have, where they command attention just by entering a... Marcus, I've heard so much about you, he said, shaking my hand firmly. Natalie tells me you're the best architect in Austin for contemporary luxury design. She's biased, but I appreciate the compliment. No bias necessary. I've seen your portfolio. Very impressive. I'm definitely going to need your expertise once I start the renovation phase of my investment strategy. We talked for about 20 minutes about architecture, real estate markets, Austin's growth trajectory. He was knowledgeable, engaging, asked good questions. I liked him, saw him as a valuable business contact, maybe even a future friend. I didn't see how he looked at my wife when he thought I wasn't watching. Didn't notice how she laughed just a little too long at his jokes, how she touched his arm when making a point, how they had an ease with each other that went beyond professional courtesy. I was blind, completely, stupidly blind. After that gala, Natalie's work schedule became even more demanding. She'd leave early for property showings with Victor. She'd stay out late for investment strategy dinners with Victor. She'd take weekend trips to look at properties in Dallas or Houston that Victor was considering. Why do you need to go to Dallas for his property viewings? Can't a local agent handle that? Victor values my opinion specifically. He wants consistency across all his investments. Plus, it's good for my reputation to be seen as the kind of agent who goes above and beyond for top-tier clients. It made sense. Ambitious agents do go the extra mile, and the commissions kept coming. Victor bought a second property for $950,000, then a third for $1.4 million. In 10 months, Natalie had earned over $100,000 in commissions from Victor alone. But I started noticing other changes. Natalie had always been attractive and fit, but suddenly she was obsessive about it. Gym 6 days a week, new workout clothes every month, a personal trainer she'd hired. Within 6 months, she'd lost 15 pounds and looked incredible. You look amazing, I told her. But is this healthy? You're at the gym constantly. I need to look the part for the level of clients I'm working with now. Image matters in luxury real estate. Victor's introducing me to his network. Wealthy investors, developers, entrepreneurs. I need to look like I belong in that world. Victor's world. Everything was about Victor's world. Her wardrobe upgraded dramatically too. Designer clothes, expensive shoes, luxury handbags. When I'd comment on the cost, she'd say they were necessary business expenses. These clients notice everything, Marcus. If I show up looking like a mid-level agent, they won't take me seriously. I need to look successful to attract successful clients. Our joint business account covered these business expenses, designer clothes, gym memberships, beauty treatments, all categorized as professional development or client relations expenses. I didn't scrutinize them because I trusted Natalie's judgment about what her business required. Another mistake, our intimacy started declining. Natalie was always too tired, too stressed about upcoming deals, too focused on preparing for client meetings. We went from having sex 2-3 times per week to maybe twice a month. When I'd try to initiate, she'd be on her phone responding to urgent client messages. Is everything okay with us? I asked one night after another rejection. Everything's fine. I'm just exhausted from work. This is a demanding time in my career. Once I've solidified my position with these major clients, things will settle down. I accepted that explanation. I was busy too, working on multiple design projects, being primary parent to Owen while Natalie traveled. We were both tired. That's what happens to married couples with demanding careers and a young child. You go through phases where intimacy decreases. It's normal, except it wasn't normal. It was intentional. 10 months ago, I needed to review our joint business account for tax preparation. Our accountant had requested detailed documentation of all business expenses for the previous year. I logged into our account and started downloading statements, and that's when I noticed something odd. Multiple large cash withdrawals, each around $3,000 or $5,000, with vague descriptions like client relations, property staging consultation, or business development. Over the past year, there were 15 such withdrawals totaling nearly $60,000. I called Natalie. Hey, I'm pulling together expense documentation for taxes. Can you help me understand what these cash withdrawals were for? The bank needs specific details. She paused. Which withdrawals? I described a few. There's one for $4,500 labeled staging consultation. What was that? That was when Victor and I went to look at furniture and staging options for one of his properties. He wanted my opinion on how to maximize resale value. Why did you need $4,500 in cash for that? The staging consultant only accepted cash. You know how these independent contractors are. It seemed weird, but not impossible. I moved on to the next one. What about this $3,800 for property research trip? That was the Dallas trip with Victor, hotel and expenses. Why didn't we just put the hotel on the credit card? We did, but there were other expenses, meals, transportation. It added up. Every withdrawal had an explanation. Individually, each explanation was plausible, but collectively $60,000 in cash withdrawals seemed excessive. I dug deeper into the credit card statements attached to our business account, found luxury Airbnb bookings, mountain cabins in Colorado, beach houses in California, a secluded estate in hill country. Each booking was 2 to 3 nights. Each cost $2,000, $4,000. Each was labeled property staging research or investment property consultation. I called Natalie again. Can you Airbnb bookings? They seem expensive for business trips. Another pause. Those were properties Victor wanted to see as potential investment models. He's considering getting into the short-term rental market. We stayed at high-end Airbnbs to understand what luxury travelers want, what amenities matter, how to price premium properties. You stayed at them together overnight? Yes, it was research. Victor needed my professional opinion, and the way to really evaluate a rental property is to experience it as a guest would. Natalie, these bookings cost nearly $30,000 total. That seems like a lot for research. Marcus, do you want me to succeed or not? This is what it takes to work with ultra-wealthy clients. They operate differently. They expect a level of service and expertise that requires me to actually understand their investments firsthand. She sounded defensive, almost angry that I was questioning her. I backed down, not wanting to start a fight, but the numbers bothered me. $60,000 in cash, withdrawals plus $30,000 in luxury accommodation bookings, all in 1 year, all related to one client. I started paying closer attention, noticed that Natalie had a new phone she used for business only. She'd leave her personal phone on the kitchen counter, but always had the business phone with her, even in the bathroom. One Saturday morning, I was in the garage looking for Owen's bike helmet when I saw Natalie's car door open. She'd gone for a run and left it unlocked. Inside, I saw the business phone sitting in the center console. I shouldn't have looked, I know that. Invasion of privacy, violation of trust, all the things I'd tell you not to do if you were telling me this story, but I picked up that phone. It was unlocked, and what I found destroyed my entire world. The phone contained one contact, V. Thousands of messages dating back over a year. Photos, videos, explicit texts. I stood in my garage, hand shaking, reading through a documented affair that had been happening in parallel to my marriage. Early messages from 13 months ago. Natalie, can't stop thinking about this afternoon. You made me feel alive in ways I'd forgotten I could feel. You're incredible. I knew from the moment I met you that we had something special. Messages from 10 months ago. And when are you leaving him? I need you in my life fully, not just stolen moments. Natalie, soon. I need to secure more commissions first, build up my financial cushion, then I'll tell Marcus I want a divorce. Messages from 6 months ago. Natalie, the Airbnb in Colorado was perfect. 3 days with you felt like a lifetime. Going back to my regular life gets harder every time. Once my divorce is finalized and you leave Marcus, we can have that life permanently. Just us traveling, building our empire together. Messages from 3 months ago. I'm so proud of you. You've secured over $150K from our business deals that Marcus doesn't know about. That money will be perfect for our new start. Natalie, I feel guilty sometimes. He works so hard and has no idea I'm planning to leave. He's getting exactly what he deserves for taking you for granted. You're destined for more than being some architect's wife in Austin. Messages from 2 weeks ago. Natalie. Owen asked why I'm gone so much. I hate lying to him. Once we're together, he'll understand. We'll give him a better life than Marcus ever could. I couldn't breathe, couldn't process what I was reading. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was systematically planning to leave me, had been using our business money to fund getaways with her lover, and was discussing taking our son into this new life she was building with Victor. I scrolled through photos. Natalie and Victor at restaurants, on beaches, in bed together. Her smile in those photos was radiant, genuine, nothing like the tired, distracted expression she wore around me anymore. I checked the dates of the photos against my calendar. Every business trip had been real. Just not business with clients, business with her affair partner, funded by money from our joint account. The Colorado cabin, $3,400 for 3 nights. I'd been home with Owen, thinking my wife was researching investment properties. She'd been with Victor. The California beach house, $4,100 for 4 nights. I'd told Owen, Mommy's working hard to give us a good life. She'd been with her lover. The Hill Country Estate, $2,800 for 2 nights. I'd worked overtime on a project to make up for her being gone. She'd been betraying everything our marriage stood for. I heard Natalie's footsteps coming toward the garage. She was back from her run. I dropped the phone back in the center console, closed the car door, and walked past her into the house. Find the helmet? She asked, breathing hard from her run, face flushed. Yeah, found exactly what I was looking for, I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the earthquake happening inside me. She didn't catch the double meaning, just smiled and headed upstairs to shower. I went to my home office, closed the door, and sat at my desk. My marriage was over. That much was clear. Natalie had been living a double life for over a year, using our business money to fund an affair while planning to divorce me once she'd extracted enough financial security. But the messages revealed something else. Victor had mentioned his divorce being finalized. Was Victor married? Was Natalie having an affair with a married man? I opened my laptop and did what I should have done a year ago. I researched Victor Reeves, Austin real estate investor, developer, relocating from Dallas, wealthy client, except I couldn't find any record of Victor Reeves being a developer. No company registrations, no business filing, no professional profile. I searched property records. The 3 properties Natalie sold him were indeed in his name, but there was no evidence of any other real estate investment, no development projects, no business empire. I searched for Victor Reeves Dallas divorce. Nothing. Then I searched county marriage records in Dallas. Found a Victor Reeves, age 42, married in 2008. No divorce filing, no separation. Still married as far as public records show. I sat back, pieces clicking into place. Victor wasn't getting divorced. He'd lied to Natalie about that. And his Wealth was questionable. If he was really a successful developer, there'd be a digital footprint, business records, something beyond 3 property purchases. My wife was having an affair with a man who might not be who he claimed to be, using our money to fund that affair, planning to leave me and take our son into a future that might be built entirely on lies. The betrayal was staggering, but beneath the pain and rage was something else, a cold, analytical clarity. The same precision I used in architectural design started mapping out exactly what I needed to do: document everything, gather evidence, understand the full scope of what had been done to me financially, personally, professionally, then respond strategically, not emotionally. Natalie thought I was oblivious, thought I'd never discover the truth, thought she'd successfully built a secret life while maintaining the appearance of our marriage. She was wrong, and that miscalculation was about to cost her everything she'd been planning. I didn't confront Natalie that day, or the next day, or the day after that. Instead, I did what I do best as an architect. I gathered information, analyzed the structure of the problem, and designed a comprehensive solution that would address every weak point in what Natalie and Victor had built. The first call I made was to a forensic accountant, not our regular CPA, but a specialist who worked on fraud cases and divorce proceedings. His name was Robert Chen, recommended by a colleague who'd gone through a contentious divorce himself. I need someone to trace every dollar that's moved through my business accounts over the past 18 months. I believe my wife has been using business funds to finance an affair, and I need documentation of exactly how much money was misappropriated and where it went. Robert's response was professional and direct. I can do that, but I need complete access to all accounts, credit cards, and financial records. And Mr. Williams, if we find what you think we'll find, you need to be prepared to use that information legally. This kind of documentation is expensive and only valuable if you're committed to taking action. I'm committed. Send me your retainer agreement. The retainer was $8,000. I paid it from my personal account, one Natalie had no access to. Within 48 hours, Robert had accessed all our financial records and started his analysis. The second call was to a private investigator. Again, not just any PI, but one who specialized in infidelity cases and had testified in multiple divorce proceedings. Her name was Diana Torres, and her rates were $200 per hour with a minimum $5,000 retainer. I have evidence of my wife's affair, but I need current, real-time documentation of her activities. I need to know where she goes, who she meets, what her routine actually is versus what she tells me, and I need photographic and video evidence that will hold up in court. Diana was matter of fact. How long has this been going on? Over a year, but I only discovered it 3 days ago. And you haven't confronted her? Not yet. I'm building a complete case first. Smart. Most people lead with emotion and lose their advantage. Give me everything you have: photos of the affair partner, his vehicle information, your wife's schedule, phone numbers, addresses. I'll start surveillance immediately. I sent Diana everything from the hidden phone: Victor's photo, his address from the property records, his phone number, Natalie's business trip schedule, for the next 2 weeks. She had 2 upcoming trips, one to Houston for 3 days, one to Dallas for 2 days, both supposedly for Victor's property investments. The third call was to a divorce attorney, not just any attorney, but Margaret Frost, known in Austin legal circles as the Frost, for her cold, calculating approach to high-asset divorces. Her retainer was $15,000, and she was worth every penny. Mr. Williams, walk me through everything you've discovered. I spent 90 minutes in her office detailing the affair, the financial misappropriation, the hidden phone, my suspicions about Victor's authenticity. Margaret took meticulous notes, asking pointed questions about timelines, documentation, and my desired outcome. So, what do you want from this divorce? She asked when I finished. Primary custody of my son. He's 6 years old and has no idea his mother has been planning to leave us. I want to minimize the disruption to his life, which means he stays in our home with me. What else? I want every dollar Natalie stole from our business account returned. I want her to face professional consequences for using client relationships as cover for an affair. And I want Victor Reeves to face legal consequences for whatever fraud he's perpetrating. You believe he's committing fraud? I can't find any evidence he's actually the wealthy developer he claims to be. No business registration, no development projects, minimal online presence. He bought 3 properties through Natalie, but that's it. For someone who's supposedly relocating his entire real estate empire to Austin, there's remarkably little evidence of that empire existing. Margaret's expression sharpened. That's interesting. Give me his information. I have a researcher who can dig deeper into his background. Over the next 2 weeks, while maintaining the appearance of normal married life, I systematically built my case. I smiled at Natalie over breakfast, helped Owen with homework, kissed my wife goodbye when she left for her Houston property research trip. And the whole time, 3 professionals were documenting the destruction of my marriage. Robert's forensic accounting revealed the full scope of Natalie's financial Over 18 months, she'd misappropriated $94,000 from our joint business account, $60,000 in cash withdrawals for business expenses that had no corresponding business purpose, $34,000 in luxury accommodations booked as property research that were actually affair getaways. But there was more. Robert discovered that 3 properties I'd designed renovation properties Natalie told me were potential projects that fell through had actually sold to Victor at prices significantly below market value. My architectural work had added approximately $150,000 in value to those properties, but they'd sold for $100,000 less than comparable properties. Why would she sell properties below market value? I asked Rob. 2 possibilities. 1, she's financially naive and accepted low offers. 2, she's intentionally undervaluing properties for Victor's benefit, either as a favor to her affair partner or as part of some agreement where she benefits from his savings. Either way, it was a massive ethical violation for a real estate agent. Fiduciary duty to clients means getting the best possible price, not giving your lover insider deals. Diana's investigation revealed even more disturbing patterns. She followed Natalie on her Houston trip, which wasn't to Houston at all. Natalie drove to a luxury resort in Fredericksburg, where she met Victor. Diana provided photo and video documentation of them checking in together, having intimate dinners, walking hand in hand through the resort grounds. But Diana also documented something else. Victor meeting with another woman 3 days before meeting Natalie. Same playbook. Romantic dinner, intimate body language, overnight stay. Diana ran the woman's license plate. She was a real estate agent from San Antonio. Your wife's affair partner appears to be running this pattern with multiple real estate agents, Diana reported. He presents himself as a wealthy investor, develops romantic relationships with agents, gets insider deals on properties, then moves on. I found records of him doing this in 2 other Texas cities, Dallas and San Antonio. Different names, same pattern. Victor Reeves wasn't a wealthy developer. He was a con artist using romantic relationships with real estate agents to acquire properties below market value, then flipping them for profit. And Natalie had fallen for it completely, believing she was his special someone while he ran the same game with other women. Margaret's researcher confirmed Diana's findings. Victor Reeves had been Victor Reynolds in Dallas, Victor Reed in San Antonio. Multiple LLCs, multiple aliases, all connected to real estate acquisitions at below market prices from agents he'd romanced. He had outstanding lawsuits in 2 counties from women who'd realized his game too late. This man is a professional con artist, Margaret said, and your wife isn't his victim, she's his accomplice. She knowingly sold him properties below market value, misappropriated business funds to finance their relationship, and planned to leave you using money she'd fraudulently obtained. That makes her complicit in his scheme. Sitting in Margaret's office, reviewing 3 inches of documentation from the forensic accountant, private investigator, and background researcher, I felt a cold satisfaction. Natalie thought she'd been conducting a sophisticated secret affair. She thought she'd outsmarted me, planned her exit strategy, and positioned herself for a glamorous new life with a wealthy developer. She'd actually been deceived by a con artist while simultaneously defrauding her husband and violating her professional ethics. And I had every bit of it documented. What's your recommendation for how to proceed? I asked Margaret. Confrontation needs to be strategic. We could serve her privately, go through standard divorce proceedings, but given the fraud component and Victor's involvement, I recommend something more direct. Confront them together, present all evidence simultaneously. Make it clear that their entire scheme has been exposed and they're both facing legal consequences. How would we do that? Set up a meeting under false pretenses. Tell Natalie you want to discuss a major business opportunity with her and Victor. Say you've designed a property that would be perfect for his portfolio and you want to pitch it as a joint venture. Get them both in a room, then present them with everything we've found. I thought about it. The architectural precision of the plan appealed to me. Both parties present no opportunity for them to coordinate stories, forced to face the evidence together. Let's do it. I texted Natalie that evening. I've been working on a project that would be perfect for Victor, major custom home design, exact spec for luxury investment property. Can we meet with him this week to pitch it? Could be huge for all our businesses. Her response was immediate and enthusiastic. That's amazing. Victor has been hoping you'd collaborate with us. I'll set up a meeting. When works for you? Friday afternoon, 3 p.m., my office? Perfect. I'll confirm with Victor. Friday afternoon, I arrived at my office at 2 p.m. Margaret was already there, along with Diana, who'd set up a discreet camera to document the meeting. Robert had prepared bound copies of his forensic accounting report. Everything was ready. At 2:50 p.m., Natalie arrived, looking beautiful in a designer dress I now knew she'd charged to our business account. She kissed me. This is exciting. Victor is so pleased you want to collaborate. At 3 p.m. exactly, Victor arrived. Confident, well-dressed, smiling that charismatic smile that had fooled my wife so completely. Marcus, great to finally talk business together. Natalie's told me about your latest designs. I'm very interested. We all sat in my conference room, Natalie and Victor on one side of the table, me and Margaret on the other. Diana remained in the observation area, camera rolling. Victor, Natalie, thanks for coming. Before we discuss the new project, I want to introduce Margaret Frost. She's an attorney I've been working with. Natalie's expression shifted slightly, confusion mixed with the first edge of concern. An attorney? Why do we need an attorney for a design pitch? This isn't a design pitch. This is a confrontation about your 18-month affair and the $94,000 you've stolen from our business account to finance it. The silence was absolute. Natalie's face went white. Victor's expression hardened, the charming mask slipping to reveal calculation underneath. What are you talking about? Natalie tried, but her voice was shaking. I pulled out my phone, opened the photos from her hidden phone, and slid it across the table. I found your business phone 2 weeks ago, read through every message between you and Victor, saw every photo from your property research trips. I know everything, Natalie. The affair, the planning to leave me, the discussions about taking Owen, all of it. She stared at the phone, unable to speak. I turned to Victor. And you, Victor Reeves. Or should I call you Victor Reynolds from Dallas? Or Victor Reed from San Antonio? I know you're running a con using romantic relationships with real estate agents to acquire properties at below market prices. I know you've done this in at least 3 Texas cities. I have documentation of your pattern. Victor stood up. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down, Margaret said, her voice cutting through the room like ice. You're about to be served with legal documents. You can sit and hear what's coming, or you can leave and be ambushed by process servers. Your choice. He sat. Margaret opened her briefcase and pulled out several folders. Natalie Harrison, you're being served with divorce papers. Your husband is filing for divorce on grounds of adultery and financial fraud. He's seeking primary custody of your son, division of assets with compensation for the $94,000 you misappropriated from joint business accounts, and spousal support termination based on your infidelity. She slid the papers across to Natalie, who'd started crying. Victor Reeves, also known as Victor Reynolds and Victor Reed, you're being served with a civil lawsuit for fraud, alienation of affection, and business interference. Mr. Williams is suing you for $250,000 in damages related to properties sold below market value through your fraudulent relationship with his wife. Victor's face was stone. You can't prove any of that. Actually, we can. I opened the 3 binders Robert had prepared. This is a complete forensic accounting of every dollar Natalie spent on your affair. Every cash withdrawal, every luxury accommodation, every business expense that was actually personal. It totals $94,000 stolen from our business. I opened the second binder. This is documentation from a private investigator showing your affair with my wife, including photographic evidence from your Fredericksburg trip last week. It also includes evidence of you running the exact same pattern with a real estate agent in San Antonio 2 weeks before meeting with Natalie. Victor's expression finally cracked. He looked at Natalie. You said he'd never find out. You said he was too busy with his work to notice anything. And there it was. Victor throwing Natalie under the bus to save himself. Natalie was sobbing now. Marcus, please let me explain. There's nothing to explain. You had an affair. You stole our money to finance it. You planned to leave me and take our son. You violated your professional ethics by selling properties to your lover at below market prices. All of that is documented and will be presented in court. I opened the third binder. This is the evidence we'll be presenting to the Texas Real Estate Commission. Fiduciary duty violations, conflict of interest, using client relationships as cover for personal affairs. Natalie, you're going to lose your license. At minimum temporarily, possibly permanently. Her crying intensified. You're destroying my career. You destroyed your career when you chose to defraud clients and misuse your position. I'm just documenting, Margaret continued. Additionally, we're filing a formal complaint with the licensing board, providing them with all evidence of the below-market property sales and the personal relationship that compromised Mrs. Harrison's professional judgment. Victor stood again. I'm leaving. Talk to my attorney if you want to pursue this ridiculous lawsuit. You don't have an attorney, Diana said, speaking for the first time from the observation area. I've checked. You've defended yourself in the 2 previous lawsuits against you because you can't afford proper representation. You're not wealthy, Victor. You're in debt. The properties you bought through Natalie were leveraged to the maximum, and you're already behind on mortgage payments on 2 of them. Victor's face was pure rage now. He looked at Natalie with contempt. This was supposed to be easy money. You were supposed to keep him clueless while we built our portfolio. Instead, you got sloppy. And there it was, the full truth. Natalie hadn't just fallen for a con artist. She'd knowingly participated in his scheme, believing they were building wealth together by defrauding me and her clients. Natalie looked at Victor, realization dawning. You're not wealthy. Your divorce isn't being finalized. Everything you told me was a lie. Everything I told you got us 3 properties at great prices. You played your part perfectly until you apparently left evidence lying around for your husband to find. She turned to me, desperate. Marcus, I didn't know. He told me he was divorced, that he loved me, that we were building a future together. You knew you were stealing from our business account. You knew you were lying to me about where you were going and who you were with. You knew you were selling properties below market value to benefit him. Whether he lied to you doesn't change what you did to me. The meeting ended with Victor storming out, threatening lawsuits he'd never be able to afford, and Natalie collapsing into sobs, begging me to reconsider, promising she'd end things with Victor, swearing she still loved me. I felt nothing but cold detachment. Diana, please escort Mrs. Harrison out. She has 30 days to vacate our family home per the temporary custody and residency orders in the divorce filing. Over the next 6 months, everything unraveled for Natalie and Victor exactly as I'd planned. The divorce proceeded on my terms, with evidence of adultery, financial fraud, and Natalie's planning to relocate our son into a relationship with a con artist. The custody decision was clear. I got primary custody, 70-30 split with Natalie getting alternating weekends. I kept the family home. Natalie was ordered to repay the $94,000 she'd stolen, with payments garnished directly from her paychecks. The Texas Real Estate Commission suspended Natalie's license for 2 years pending investigation. The evidence of below-market sales to her affair partner was too egregious to ignore. Without her license, she couldn't work as an agent. She ended up taking a job as an administrative assistant at a property management company, making $40,000, a fraction of her previous income. Victor faced multiple lawsuits. Mine, plus 2 others from agents in Dallas and San Antonio who discovered his pattern. Unable to afford proper legal defense, he lost all 3 cases with default judgments totaling over $500,000. He declared bankruptcy, lost the properties he'd acquired through his con, and left Texas entirely. Last I heard, he was in Florida, presumably running the same scheme with a new name. Our social circle reacted exactly as I'd expected. Friends who'd known both of us for years were shocked by Natalie's betrayal. Several reached out to offer support, share their own horror at what she'd done. Natalie's reputation in Austin real estate was destroyed, not just because of the affair, but because of the professional ethics violations. Trust is everything in real estate, and she'd proven herself untrustworthy. 1 year after discovering the affair, I was settling into a new normal, Owen lived with me full time, saw Natalie every other weekend. He'd adjusted better than I'd expected. Kids are resilient, and I'd worked hard to shield him from the adult ugliness of what had happened. Professionally, my architecture practice was thriving. Without Natalie's financial drain and constant demands for business expenses, my profit margins increased dramatically. I hired an associate to help with growing project demand. Personally, I started therapy, not because I was struggling, but because I wanted to process what had happened in healthy ways before considering dating again. My therapist, Dr. Susan Kim, helped me understand the dynamics of what Natalie had done. She compartmentalized her life, Dr. Kim explained. You were security, stability, the father of her child. Victor was excitement, validation, the promise of something more glamorous. She convinced herself she could maintain both until she was ready to transition fully. But she was planning to take Owen. How does a mother justify that? By telling herself a story where the new life would be better for him. She likely convinced herself that Victor's wealth, which she believed was real, would provide opportunities you couldn't. That narrative justified the deception. 2 years after the divorce, I started dating. Carefully, cautiously, with trust issues I openly acknowledged. A woman named Rachel, through a friend. She was a landscape architect. We had professional overlap and common interests. She was kind, honest, and refreshingly straightforward about her own divorce and the lessons she'd learned. I ignored red flags because I wanted to believe in the marriage, Rachel told me on our third date. What about you? I trusted completely because I thought trust was what marriage required. Turns out, trust needs to be earned continuously, not assumed permanently. 3 years after discovering Natalie's affair, I'm 40 years old. Owen is 9, thriving in school, well-adjusted despite the divorce. Natalie finally got her real estate license reinstated, but is working for a small firm, her reputation never fully recovering. She's dating someone new, a middle manager at a tech company. Stable and unremarkable. She sees Owen regularly now, has rebuilt some semblance of a relationship with him, but she's no longer the ambitious, confident woman I married. She's diminished, smaller, marked permanently by her choices. Rachel and I are engaged. She's met Owen, they get along well, and we're planning a small wedding next fall. It's a second chance built on honesty and hard-learned lessons about what real partnership looks like. Sometimes I think about that afternoon in my garage, finding Natalie's hidden phone and discovering the affair. How my entire reality shifted in those minutes. How the marriage I thought I had was revealed to be a carefully maintained illusion. But I also think about the choice I made immediately after. Not to confront emotionally, but to document strategically. To build an airtight case before exposing the truth. That choice protected Owen, protected my assets, and ensured that Natalie and Victor faced real consequences for their fraud. People ask if I regret how publicly I exposed them, if I think I could have handled it more privately. My answer is always the same. Private confrontation would have given Natalie control over the narrative. She'd have painted herself as the victim of a dead marriage, me as the workaholic husband who drove her away. Our friends would have sympathized with her, questioned me, wondered what I'd done to push her into another man's arms. Instead, everyone saw the evidence. The stolen money, the systematic deception, the professional ethics violations, the con artist she'd chosen over her family. There was no ambiguity, no room for alternative narratives. Was it harsh? Absolutely. But so was stealing $94,000 from our business, planning to take our son, and building a secret life while I worked to support our family. 5 years after that garage discovery, the pain has faded to a dull memory. I rarely think about Natalie except during Owen's custody exchange, and even those are cordial now. She's part of my history, a cautionary tale about trusting without verifying. My life now is everything I wanted with Natalie, but with someone who actually values honesty. Rachel and I are building a practice together. Integrated architecture and landscape design, and it works because we trust each other, communicate openly, and have both learned the cost of deception. Owen sometimes asks about why his mom and I divorced. I tell him age-appropriate versions of the truth. Your mom and I wanted different things, made different choices, and decided we'd be better apart than together. But we both love you, and that will never change. When he's older, he'll understand more. He'll probably ask harder questions. And I'll answer honestly, because honesty, even painful honesty, is the foundation of every relationship that matters. The final lesson I learned from Natalie's betrayal isn't about trust or love or marriage. It's about knowing your worth. For too long, I'd accepted Natalie's framing, that her career demands were reasonable, that her expenses were necessary, that her absences were justified. I'd accommodated and compromised because I thought that's what good husbands did. But good partners don't require constant accommodation. They reciprocate, they contribute, they build together rather than extracting from one partner to fund a secret life. Natalie saw me as a resource: financial stability, professional connections, respectable cover for her real activities. When I discovered the truth and fought back with evidence and consequences, she was shocked. She'd expected me to accept whatever story she told, forgive her deception, maybe even share some blame for her choices. Instead, I held her fully accountable, and that accountability, documented public, with real legal and professional consequences, was the only response that matched the scale of her betrayal. 7 years later, I know I made the right choice, not just for me, but for Owen. He's growing up understanding that actions have consequences, that honesty matters, that people who love you don't systematically deceive you while planning to leave. And somewhere, Natalie is living with her choices: the career she damaged, the marriage she destroyed, the son who sees her every other weekend instead of daily, the wealth and excitement she'd planned with Victor that never materialized because he was a con artist and she was too blinded by affair fog to see it. That's justice, not revenge. Justice. She wanted to leave me after extracting maximum financial benefit. Instead, she left with legal consequences, professional sanctions, and social consequences that will follow her for years. And I moved forward into a life built on the ruins of what she destroyed. Better, stronger, wiser, and infinitely more careful about who I trust with my heart, my business, and my future.